Welcome to Priceless Talks, and this is our extravagant studio. Today I got with me LJ Scott, former Louisville football player, Eastern Kentucky player, and former number one player on Sports Center for how many weeks? Do you
Oh
remember?
shit! You
Eh,
asked me
More
too.
than one, so it wasn't just lucky. So if you'd like to introduce yourself at all.
Yeah, I'm LJ Scott. Like you said, played college ball, University of Louisville. Transferred out of there after my third year to Eastern Kentucky. Had a pretty cool high school play that made Sports Center top 10 in high school, and yeah,
Credit to
appreciate
me
you
for
having me.
putting that video
Hey,
together.
no,
Let's
no
just
doubt.
say,
He told me true story. Nobody knows this about that video. As soon as it happened, as soon as I jumped over the kid and scored the touchdown, Trey was probably like the first person to meet me on the sideline, and he said these words clear as day. I'm going to get you on Sports Center. And I just kind of like laughed him off, like, yeah, it was cool, but that shit don't happen to little guys like us. And like he sent it to ESPN or they emailed the
yeah, I
school or
remember they
something
emailed
like
us
that.
because they hit up Mr. Mullins
And I
from
and, and
Telecom.
and
Yeah.
even that I thought was fake. I was like, come on, y'all. Like who went the links to fabricate
Yeah,
the
yeah,
email
yeah.
from ESPN? But that was pretty dope.
Because no one really knows the process in which that happens. But yeah, you find a video, they thought it was
Yeah.
cool. And what's crazy about it is it's a play that was still flagged. And usually anything that gets flagged and isn't an official play, they don't like include usually like in a sports center and
Oh,
stuff.
really?
So
I didn't know
yeah, I
that.
feel like think like dunks and stuff from the NBA, like if someone gets something crazy, if it's called off and waved off, it's like, well, it
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
a play. It
it
didn't
wasn't a
technically
dunk.
happen.
Yeah,
So,
true.
but yeah, a lot of people from Marion, Ohio don't expect that, things like that to happen to them. So that leads us into our topic of discussion for today. It's primarily about Marion and a lot of the great things that come out of Marion that people don't always see because people, rightfully so, they can be critical of where they're from. But I think there's a lot of great things that come out of Marion. And if you're interested in anything and want to learn anything, there's plenty of people that care deeply about anything that you could ever like and know and are plenty knowledgeable. And that brings me back to like Coach Hinton back in the
Oh
day,
yeah.
and
Oh
Norris
yeah.
and people like that.
There's a lot of gyms in Marion. I mean, you
Yes.
just got to be willing or have that interest already exist, and then you'll naturally like run into those people. I feel like.
Yes, yes, and I remember little things like dot drill. I remember how big like doing dot drill just on one foot and stuff, and like ankle stability stuff used to be back then.
Since
And
coaching here or since CJ's been back, that's the first time I've seen us do the dot drill game,
really,
and I'm like, thank good God, because
yeah,
people don't understand the importance of like lower extremity strength and stability and like your ankles,
yes,
calves,
yes,
Achilles, and like that drill alone is like at the high school level, you're probably going to get the most out of it for how quick and simple of a drill that is.
yes, yes. It's just a game. Like hop on,
Yeah,
hop dot to dot. I remember I walked into Olentangy Liberty the other day when we were
they do it.
playing there, and they
Oh
had
yeah,
little dot drills, and I was like, wow, that brings me back. And it's little things like that. Like I remember Norris had us in the hall one time for football, and we were like leaning at an angle on the wall, doing like quick like
oh yeah,
pound downs and stuff, and like little stuff
switches.
like that, and doing switches and stuff like it took me so long to not even be around that. And then like I'm coming around to learning more from people like you and Sean. And it's like I see a lot of people bringing that stuff back. And I'm like, wow, like we had people that had that same knowledge and had the same ideas. It's just that they're not plastered everywhere on
Yeah,
everything. Like, so you can really run into anybody anywhere. And it just depends sometimes really on how much you buy in and how much you trust the people that you're with, because you don't need the most fancy thing or to train with the most fancy person. It really is more about just that bond that you have and your willingness to like trust someone.
yeah. You got to have a good amount of trust to let someone advise you, and you apply that advice in those areas of your life where you're probably in these cases more or less you're chasing the biggest dream or the like in a young person's life in high school setting, that athletic dream is probably the biggest thing that they're chasing at that time. So this person
Yeah.
better be someone I trust before I take advice and apply it to
Yeah.
this biggest dream that I'm chasing. But Yeah, like I trained with Bryson Lawrence, and like you said, it didn't. At the time, he was just getting like his foot in the door. I think he was still like under some trainers at what is now Stay Fit, but back in the day, gosh, I forget what it was called, Power Factory.
Yeah. You're right. You're right.
He was under some trainers then, but I trained with him for like 6 days, and I took that 6 day session, and like I just repeated repetition. I got in all those starts that he taught me. I got in all those stances in order to jump better and all those things, and I just repeated it over and over and over again. So he's a gym. Coach Norris, you already mentioned him. He took me pre-C speed school and did all those same switch series on the wall. Taught me how to angle cut, a whole bunch of things for one day. But then I started doing those drills all throughout high school, and I was very fortunate to have like people like those two give me something little, and like again, me just trust that it was going to work and benefit me, and just keep applying it.
And that's a big concept I have with actually naming everything that I'm doing Priceless, is because I think it's important to give people something that they don't have to keep coming back to you to get. Like my big goal is that like you can do this stuff when I'm not around. I want to impart some knowledge to you.
You know what I mean?
So like I can give you stuff, but I don't want to always have to be there for you. You can learn just as well. You don't have to learn everything, and we can still link up sometimes, but my biggest goal is to give people information that if you want to apply more of it, now you can just take that and run with it. Yeah.
That's a lot of people's crutch in this, is like, I don't know what I'm doing, and then, or it's like the person who needs the trainer, or they go to the gym, but they're not motivated intrinsically, so they've got the trainer with them all the time. It's like, you don't want to be the trainer that's with you all the time. It's like, take this workout regimen and now apply it on your own, and you should get the same out of it as if I was with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that also feeds me into dealing with kids a lot through coaching, because I think this was very interesting, and I think our journeys and how they've very much so been different and totally opposite, but our initial reaction from people when we got into coaching. And I remember just myself, because once again, didn't play high school basketball, just freshman, sophomore year, never sat on a varsity bench, didn't play a varsity sport as far as basketball.
Yeah, I was about to say you played football.
I still play, but I never scored a varsity basketball point. Not 2 points, not nothing.
That's crazy, and like so many kids trust you, but like rightfully so. Like he knows what he's talking about. Keep going though.
And that's what killed me, is that when I initially would think about getting into stuff, even when I was getting my degree, I was like, would anybody trust me though? Would anyone want to listen to me? Because I don't have all this credibility other people have. But when I first got back to Marion and I started coaching, I remember the way I wanted. First coaching was freshman assistant at Harding with Coach Hecker. I'm trying to remember Cody Hecker, huh?
Oh no.
Yeah, with her nephew, I believe, or something. Yeah. So coached with him, freshman, first year. Second year, I was with Curtis Manley. Big shout out. I was his assistant. Yeah. So he came. He was the freshman coach when we had Keese and everybody. That was their freshman year. So I remember I tried to set myself apart by just offering the kids, hey, I'll be in the gym before practice and I'll be in the gym after practice. If you ever want extra time, I got you. So I was just trying to find ways to fit in and do extra stuff. And I remember Keith was one of the first ones that was like, hey, like after his first year, he saw that I was coming in the gym extra, even if I was just by myself. I'm like, if you guys show up, cool. If you don't, I still like basketball. So I'm going to show up just to do stuff, just to be around. And he liked that. He asked if I would work with him over the summer a bit. And I was like, yeah, like I'm just not someone trying to push myself onto other people. Yeah. I'd rather it be like, if you really want to do it and you see me doing it, then just show up. And then my biggest moment was after coaching. I got to River Valley. So I was at River Valley for 2 years after that, 8th grade. And I remember after my first year there, during my first year even, we would have our standard middle school practice, hour and a half, 2 hours. And after school, and I would tell them at the end of practice, like, hey, I don't know what your guys' schedules are like, but like I'm going to the Y later to get extra shots up. If anyone wants to show up, feel free. And
turnout.
I kid you not, I had 8 to 10 kids, 8th graders, 7th graders. I'm almost running a whole second practice at the YMCA after our regular middle school practices. And we did a little bit more game stuff to just get shots up and compete, but still have fun while we're doing it, so it didn't feel so draining. And we had a blast. It was anyone wanted to show up, and even the YMCA workers, who I was worried that they might have an issue because, like, why are you bringing all these kids
You
here?
need to rent a space in the
Yeah,
gym?
like you got to schedule something, right? Yeah, I kid you not, they would just be like, hey, all your boys are there in the back gym waiting for you.
Crazy.
So I'm like, I really liked that hospitality they treated us with, and just let us play basketball.
Yeah.
That was the year that I remember after the season was done, it was the first time I was really ever down about basketball, though, because we did all that extra shooting, and I remember we lost at Highland, and it hit hard.
Lost championship or something?
It wasn't championship yet. I think it was maybe semifinals. But I remember when we lost, and it hurt because I'm like, I feel like I just asked these kids to show up and do so much extra work, and we didn't even win it all. But like by the end of the year, a couple of parents had asked me like, hey, we saw all the extra work you were putting in with them just for free, and we were wondering if you would even help them out a little bit past that, because we can see how much you care about what you do. And I told them likewise, like I would love to. I just haven't been someone that's trying to force myself on anyone. So that's how I got into that. And it built that trust and that bond really quickly, I feel like. And it's something I've always just been pretty good at. And I wondered how that would work out. It worked out well for me. But then I remember when you got into coaching. And I'm thinking, wow, like LJ's going to have a step ahead of the game because, I mean, this man was doing things. So I'm like, when you want to talk about someone getting it done, this boy was cutting up. So, and he put the work in for sure, got to play at very high levels and be around a lot of really good football players and just people in general. And so I'm like, he's going to come back and the kids are just going to love him and listen to anything he could ever say. And I was talking to Fascione about it. I was talking to Sean, and I was like, yeah, everyone thinks it's like sometimes competency in these things, but like really it's like connection. Because even as you had all the credibility, completely opposite to me, them kids don't care.
No.
And it's not.
Want and will starts within. Like, you're not going to get someone, no matter how passionate you are about something, to care. Like, that was the biggest thing I had to understand when I initially got into coaching is, LJ, these kids are not you. I used to be staring at kids in the face like, why in the hell can I get you not to give this type of effort or want more out of what you're doing? But, like, not every kid wanted out of the game what I wanted out of it. So I immediately had to get rid of that perception that, like, I'm going to be able to coach everybody at the level I was wanting to be coached at.
Yeah. And I don't even put it to a slight anymore because I ran into some situations where I was trying to overly coach people that didn't have the same desire. And I realized I'm actually the one giving them unsolicited advice that they didn't ask for that. They don't really, some people, not everyone wants to like try to learn everything about the game. They just want to go play the game. Yeah. And it got me to take it less serious with some people and realize that like at the end of the day at coaching at the level we're at, it's not about just killing every kid. It's about getting the most out of them and meeting them in the middle sometimes. And I think once you do that and you connect with kids, sadly, even if you don't know what you're talking about, if you build a solid connection with someone, they'll buy in and trust you. And sometimes even people buying into something that's not completely the best system, as long as you get buy-in, it works well because you're on the same page.
100%.
So I think that's the middle ground to get to, of understanding that not everyone wants to go play at the highest level, and that's okay, because everyday cities just like Marion are built off of people, not everyone leaving, some people staying to run all our shops, all the stores, all the
built off
restaurants,
of a
all the
lot of
factories. Yeah, it takes
people
small
doing
town
great
people.
things in their own regards. It's not
Yes,
just
yes,
simply
yes.
a athletics.
And I think we've both been around a lot of that coming from Marion, and like everyone knows someone that's worked at maybe a Honda all the way in Marysville, or just at Wyandotte, or Maytag, yeah, Whirlpool, exactly. Yeah, like man, when you run
He's
into
not
those,
from Marion. He's called Maytag. What?
but when you have people like that and you meet them and you grow up with them, you no longer think of it as like, oh, they didn't do enough. You realize like they serve a vital role
no
in
doubt.
everybody
No doubt.
and everyone else's situation. Like it means a lot to even, because I even worked at Honda for a year, and it really just shows you and teaches you that like these are people doing their best and doing great things at a smaller level too. And it means just as much as the top guy doing anything glamorous, like being a doctor or something even bigger than what people sometimes consider. So I think that's really big out of Marion. But I think one of the questions I have for you is because as you know, I got to live overseas for a bit, and I got to live in France for a couple of months. But when everyone sees pictures, they're like, "Oh, that has to be so cool. That has to be like a dope thing to go do." But I remember my first 2 weeks there, I was like, "Take me home. I don't want to be here. I can't go talk to my friends whenever. I can't go to the grocery store and just like see stuff that's familiar. You can't even eavesdrop on a conversation on the metro because they're just speaking in a whole different language that I just didn't know when I was there initially, until I like obviously took classes while I was there. But everyone thought it just looked so cool. So when they talked to me, it was like I couldn't really relate to them sometimes. They couldn't see where I was seeing it from because I was just completely uncomfortable, frustrated, and it took me a bit to get confident in it. So you getting to be one of the only people to take such a far step out of Marion, how was it for you really getting around, not just being at camps, but being in a whole system at a school with top athletes that are really good, and then forging your own confidence through experience also?
You go through the same learning curves that you went through probably overseas, like just a complete sense of unfamiliarity, just like picked up out of what you know, dropped into something that you got to figure out. And like I tell people, especially athletes who are asking me what college sports is like, I'm like, be ready to be stressed. Like, not only is everything unfamiliar, but like they ramp the stress up on purpose to see who of the bunch, who of the masses can shoulder the most responsibility. Who are we going to elevate to coach through to the other 105, like on a football roster? So, and like you have this sense of, and I mean it's very clear, and that's one thing like that. You know, they talk about the politics of the game, but there's a certain part of the game in college athletics that was very clear. And it was like how you end up on the chopping block, who's on the chopping block, who was in approval of the coaches, all that stuff. Like it was just a constant measuring of men and where you shuck out amongst all these men. And like
a deliberate hierarchy, like letting you know.
Hierarchy.
Yeah.
So that part of it was stressful. But I'm sure like the other flip side of being in a foreign country is like experiencing new was fun. It was fresh, and it was like I'm eating at and like it was small things for me coming from a town from Marion. It was eating at like hibachi restaurants. Like, oh shit, why they cooking food in front of me? Like truly like small-minded stuff. But like you're on a team of 105 players who like a lot of Louisville is made up of big city kids, like the Miamis and the Louisvilles and the Atlantas and stuff like that. But you had like a good part of the team that was made up of like a lot of the small town kids. So we was all experiencing all this new shit at the same time. So it was crazy. It was stressful. I mean, you're experiencing new things at the together with other people. It was fun though. I mean, like I don't want to talk about it. Usually when I'm talking about it to young people or specifically athletes trying to chase that dream, like I start with the serious part of it and then get into, oh, but you end up having a whole bunch of fun and you
Yeah.
party and you do
Yeah.
all this cool stuff, because you have to posture that conversation with the seriousness first, or you're gonna miss the whole fucking boat.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah. You can't just be delusional at the
yes,
beginning and
if
just
you're
paint a
going
fairy
there
tale. Yeah.
chasing what they only show you on college game day or what they only post on Instagrams or the glamorous parts of it, you're gonna miss the
Way
whole
more to
boat.
it.
Like you gotta get ready to be stressful and uncomfortable. So, but I would say just like most experiences like that, especially when you're amongst your peers in those numbers, all sharpening each other, all measuring
Yeah.
each other at the same
Yes.
time. I mean, there's a lot of room for growth. So like you're actively growing, you're actively seeing yourself pick up better habits. I mean, just for me, it was gravitating towards the old heads of the team. Like when I got there, everyone was like, "Dang man, this freshman don't talk." Like I was just very serious. I was 10-2 in the weight room, 10-2 in study hall. Like I was on my business because I wanted to be of the few of the 105 that coaches felt like we can show the responsibility on him early.
Yeah.
And they did. Like when the rest of the kids, the rest of the freshman class came in the summer, it was like, Scott will show you the way. Like, hey, freshman at Scott's rack. So like
Yeah.
I'm pulling people up to speed, and like that's what I wanted though. So I always say it's a perfect environment for a young man who is chasing respect. Not just chasing the money, not just chasing the social status, but like for me, growing up, I always loved to be in the barbershop. I always loved being amongst other men. I always loved going to my grandpa's house and like I was a man's man or a boy's man growing up. Like I didn't want to be in the presence of women, no slight, but like just put me around men, and that's where I felt like I thrived most. So if that's who you are and you chase respect, or you've got like very grounded morals, like a college athletic atmosphere is the perfect environment to give you enough stresses and all the other stuff to figure out like where you're going to shake out in that whole thing.
Yeah. And also because one thing that I've learned a lot from being outside of Marion is that there's and you'll run into this, that you have some people that give you confidence and hype you up a bit, but I think it's something that people lack in Marion sometimes because they don't want to come off as complimenting you too much or hyping you up too much, but sometimes I think it's important to help people believe something before they see it. And it's something that I feel like people are hesitant to in a small town sometimes. But whenever you get out, like I feel as I've gotten to take big steps outside, other people have even given me confidence. So not only do I have my own internal confidence that I feel I can compete with other people in any realm, I also feel it felt good to have reassurance from new people that I was meeting to also tell me like, yeah, and like I can tell you care about what you do. I can tell that you take it serious and you're trying to learn as best as you can, and anything that you can get your hands on to. So was there anyone that you would say they did a good job, or that stood out to you when you got to Louisville or anywhere that gave you a lot of confidence, before we get back to who might have given you confidence before in Marion?
Um, when I got to school, who gave me a lot of confidence? I mean, you have your older players. Actually, like that's who it was for me. Like you're measuring all these men, you're measuring coaches, everything, and ultimately probably coaches responsible for the amount of production you're going to have in your room as far as like naming who's starter and then the depth behind the starter. But for me, it was having the approval of my teammates. So when you've got seniors and fifth year seniors and juniors who respect your opinion, like I said, when I showed up, I was quiet. So that whole spring where I'm barely talking, I kid you not, I would say what's good to people in passing. But other than that, I was just all about business. Like I would show up to practice. I mean, nobody knew me. We all had a new coaching staff, so it was like we were all truly fighting for reps and to emerge as someone the coaches could give more responsibility or production. But amongst all that competition, when you've got older guys acknowledging you, or for me, when Jamon Brown, a fifth-year offensive lineman, said, let Scott get in the one huddle, like for me, I was like, oh shit. Like,
Yeah.
now, mind you, immediately I blew that next rep. But I was truly that nervous. But like when an old head is advocating for you as a young guy, or just any of your
They trust you to
teammates,
fail. When people trust you to fail, that lets you know that like they're willing to be with you while you're developing. Hey, he might not have it all the way, but I know if I put him in this situation, even if he messes up, he'll learn.
100%. So there was like a handful of old heads at Louisville: Jamon Brown, John Miller, Jake Smith.
Teddy left right before you got there, right?
Right before I got there.
Yeah.
But he actually was on campus like from time to time because he still had an apartment. He was still clearing all that out. So he still had to do all that as he was approaching draft day. He would come and throw with us. And again, Teddy was a person who was like, hey, man, you got good hands. Like, make sure you run through the swing route. And he would, like, teach it. And I'm like, older guys like that don't do that to guys they don't see something in. So, like, just keep taking that in. And a lot of old guys just kept giving me advice. Like Jake Smith, it wasn't even field advice. He was like, hey, come hop in the cold tub with me. And I'm like, damn, man, I hate the cold tub. Oh, man. But he taught me, like, this better be in your everyday routine, or a guy like you who's eventually going to take 15, 20 snaps a game is, you know, at Louisville at the time, the running back position was probably going to take 15, 20 reps if you was a starter. And he's like, you know, you need to have that longevity. So he's the one who taught me how to go in there and contrast ice and hot tub before and after practice. He taught me how to do body massages. He taught me how to call the trainer in and be like I remember the first time he was like, tell Sam to come in here and stretch you. And for me, coming from Marion, it was like nothing was given to me. So like even when I was at college with all those resources around me at my fingertips, I was still a little bit nervous to ask trainers to come stretch me, because in my head I'm like, I can stretch myself. Why do I need this trainer to go out their way and burden them when I can stretch myself? And he was like, no, man, sit up there. And I was so giddy, like I was kind of afraid to crack a smile, but I'm like, I'm just chilling, getting stretched, bro. But like, you earn the right to be there. So he taught me how to take advantage of all that training and stuff while you're in college. So anytime an old head did that or advised me to do something, I was never too proud to take that advice, because I knew they saw something in me. They wanted me to get better. And I mean, I guess that's the approval that gave me the motivation to, you know, like chase something even when I couldn't see it in myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
exactly. And but and then is there anyone that you feel also gave you confidence in Marion before that kind of like it might have hit home to you a little bit more? Because I remember everyone always looked at you growing up as like you would not go out to play sometimes because Kobe and them would be like, oh, he said he had to go do push-ups and he was still getting his workouts in. And we're like, hey, bro, we out here, we outside, dog. Come on, man.
If I didn't have a workout in.
But there's a vision that comes along with that, though, that I've learned a little bit with Carter now, that like until you have that vision, you don't take those steps. But you don't get a vision like that until you think, I know I could do this. Before you could even go do it, you have to have a little bit of, I could do this, though.
So, like, the first part of how I want to answer that question is I'd always, especially through my dad, like, he was very big on telling me how close people got. Like, oh, man, like, so-and-so was real good, but they, and here's where they made a mistake. And I'm not going to mention no names because, like, some people's reason why they didn't break out of Marion, specifically from Harding, may be personal or, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
But he always told me all these stories, even himself, like all these people who were really good and had potential, but just couldn't get over that hump. And I always, like, that created a whole type of intrinsic motivation in me to be the one that got over that hump. Like, to get to the college, and hell, like, I chased getting to the league harder than I got getting to college. Like, even though college was the goal, but it was like could I really, like, from Marion the whole way be the one to do it? Because everyone's story about OJ had always been he went and played high school ball somewhere else and then went to the NFL.
Yeah.
Which, no knock to him. Shout out to OJ from Marion. But, you know, that motivated me to be the one from Marion, stay in Marion the whole way to go the distance. That motivated me. But then as far as, like, coaches, it was Nick Sansota. When Nick saw me, because I remember, I kid you not.
Shout out to Nick
Shout out
Sansota.
to
What a
Nick.
legend.
What a fucking goat. When he saw me, I was very bit, like, I understood. Because me, I was a quiet kid. I read a lot of people. Like, I was real big on just being quiet and reading.
An observer, yeah.
Yes, my dad was a military guy, and he was probably, like, teaching me how to read people at a young age anyway. But I just read people. And even at a young age, I remember, like, being good at sports, baseball being the first one because you play t-ball before you play football. Baseball being the first one, or just watching, like, team parents and coaches and stuff look at me like, oh, crap,
hey, hold on, time out.
Old?
I beat him in baseball when we were growing up,
hey,
and I just gotta let him know boy.
How bad did y'all beat us? That shit was ugly.
I know it got close at the end. I remember it got close at the end.
I will call out the pitcher, but I ain't gonna do that.
Man, all I know is that some boys in green. I'm pretty sure Clayton Holmes. Clayton Holmes, baby.
Probably that.
Wow.
One of, like, 2 victories y'all had.
Hey, but we got the dub that mattered, man.
That made me sick.
Oh my Lord. So T-ball and baseball before, because I remember you used to throw and everything well too. Yeah.
You see a young age, all these people reacting to you that way, or, like, parents at tournaments coming up to ask me or shaking my hand, hey man, you're gonna be a hell of a baseball player in the future. And, like, in my head, I'm like, I'm not playing baseball in the future. I'm a football player. I'm just
what is the future, bro? I'm a child. I mean?
So, like, when Nick saw me play, and it was, so the conversation on the phone was, because we had missed signups, and I was a manager, so, like, no one's really trying to take on another
for Pee Wee
manager.
or for for
like,
midget
maybe
football.
If I was of age to actually play, they would have took me on, but no one wants another 8-year-old who they have to drag along, and he's probably fucking up the water anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Dad calls Nick and was like, hey, we missed sign up, but he has a cousin on the team. It was CJ Ross. Yeah. He has a cousin on the team.
On the Jets. You got to also mention this is the Jets we're talking about.
Come on now. If you're from Marion, you know. Anyway, he was like, no, we don't have the space. Just call around to another team and see if they might have the space, but we're good this year.
That would have changed history.
It would have changed everything.
What the? Wow, I did not know that. Continue.
Because I'm very big on, like, me having to have been coached by Nick Sansota for me to end up where I ended up. Because he was that detail-oriented. He didn't care that you was 8. He cared that you got it perfect.
Yeah.
By any means. And, like, I needed that. That grew with me as I played football. But he was like, no, we got enough people on the team. Call around. My dad was like, look, we're just going to bring him to practice. Just see him practice one day, and if you still want to send him elsewhere, we'll see who else has room. He was like, all right. And he was real reluctant about just me even coming. It was like halfway into practice, and Nick was like already pulling my dad to the side and was like, well, like, he's 8, but is he going to be 9 before the season? So it was very, well, even if he can't play in the league, in the fall league, we'll keep him for the travel league. And so I was 8 years old playing with 11-year-olds and hold my own in most cases. I mean, there were some tournaments and some teams, like, we ain't had no business there. But
Dayton Metro.
Woo!
Oh my! Hey, boy, anyway, time we pulled up to Dayton, it was
off. They was suiting up teenagers.
Nah, I'm gonna lie to you, boy.
Nonetheless, So when Nick saw me, and, like, Nick put so much fear in you, and for me, it wasn't we were scared of him because he was a temper, or he had a temper, and he wanted things perfect. But for me, it was, I didn't want to let him down. I feared letting him down. I feared disappointing him, because in my head, he was this football, like, already on Mount Rushmore. Because I was aware that the Jets had won so many championships. I was aware that he was a tough coach, and I was aware that he was the head coach of the travel team. So to me, it was like, don't disappoint this man. So a lot of my like perfection or attention to detail came from being coached by Coach Nick.
Yeah, and that's early on. I mean, he pulled your dad to the side and like, you seeing what I'm seeing, right? Like I'm on the same page with you. What can we work out?
And like getting like number one for Coach Nick wasn't a number kids chose. It was one he gave. Like if he gave you number one, it was because you was the guy. And I remember on picture day, like he gave me number one, and I was like, oh,
say less.
Like this is who he thinks I am. So like I started to grow into that role. Like, And like to your point, someone has to believe in you for you to start to play up to that.
Because
I was like, he thinks I'm a, and then like knowing the people he gave number one, like for me when I was little, it was always Raheem Brown. Watching him run the ball for the Jets was like watching a man amongst boys. He was just like a bowling ball. He was just like ridiculously strong and above everybody else. And it was like, oh, Nick thinks I'm in the class of that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, so let me start to be a little bit of that guy.
Hey, I saw what he was doing. I got to try to do the same thing. Yeah, it's a standard. Yeah. That's what. What's interesting to me about that is, as someone that I didn't always have a lot of people just saying, "Hey, yo, you're great, you're great, you're great." When people were overly confident, I used to be like, "Oh, that's just weird. Like, why are people hyping this person up so much sometimes?" And I just thought it was corny sometimes even. And then as I've taken steps outside of Marion and I'm around even now at Gahanna, I see kids and I see how important it is that people are hyping them up and that they're giving them confidence to even do little things now at a young age. Because if you don't start trying stuff and failing now at a younger age, you're going to be scared all the way up to no matter when, because you don't want to do high pressure things. You don't want to do hard things and for the first time in a high pressure situation. Yeah. And although our high school sports, the Super Bowl, no, but it's really real to you at that age. No doubt. So it's something that you take serious, and that if you wait until you're on a varsity field to work on a weakness or work on anything or good at stuff, then you're never going to take those steps. So I realized how vital it is to have that confidence early to try stuff that sets people apart. Because some kids I run into, I'm like, wow, you're good at this and you can do it. It's just obvious that fear is the only thing stopping you from doing it on the bigger stage, like in a game, in these actual moments. Like you probably just haven't been told a lot of this before, that you are good at these things from an external source too, because after a while you expect your grandma to say you're handsome or something. You expect compliments from your parents here and there, although some people don't have that. But when you hear it from someone outside of you that you also respect, it just means a little bit more, because you're like, someone else sees something inside of me that I don't even see yet potentially. And I've always been big on telling people that even when you doubt yourself, believe in other people that believe in you. Because there's going to be moments that you don't feel really brave and courageous, that you're not trying to go face your biggest fear all the time. Even outside of sports. But sometimes there's people that support you and believe in you, even if you don't. And I feel like sometimes that other perspective can help you have that confidence to even try different stuff that you inevitably, I mean, even a broken clock's right twice a day. You do this, you're going to figure it out one time eventually, and then you're like, oh, this is easy. I can learn from doing that. And it's interesting that because you make the point of like even being from Marion and being able to make strides to bigger opportunities. And I feel like that was really tough on you, because we kind of dealt with a carousel of coaches, really. Like, and
we have 4 and 3.
No, 3 and 4 years, because and at first, then we had Coach Cups, and then we finished with Coach Brady. So, and I remember you by the senior year, you had already had it decided, because I remember that kid from Marysville that was like, why?
Welcome to Lou.
Welcome to Lou. Oh,
that's
man.
the type of day we going to have?
Oh, my Lord.
Say less.
So
crazy, that scrimmage.
I remember how that you had already had that decided. But I remember, for me, a big person was Coach Cups at a lower level, because I didn't have as much confidence sometimes in basketball, but in football, like I got to start varsity from sophomore year on, and he really gave me confidence that like I was good at stuff, and he took us to a lot of camps.
Oh, yeah.
He put me in environments that I had never knew that I even wanted to try to be in.
For me, he's the coach that gave my dream perspective. When he took us to Cincinnati, and I realized I wasn't the biggest, fastest, strongest, I was like that whole ride home was just, I got to work on a lot of shit. Like that was so convicting. And I came back the next year and left with an offer, and it was like, yeah, like that camp did for me what it was supposed to. It was supposed to put in perspective how many kids are chasing the same dream. And where I was amongst those.
And kids. That they're out here killing to get their own spot too. Like this is no longer nice guy, hey, the best one that always shows. You got to show people you're the best now.
Yeah.
Like I remember being at some of the camps, because I remember we went up to Toledo, and I had a great time there.
That bacon on that sandwich.
That bacon on the sandwich.
What was that, a Burger King?
It was Burger King, because I eat like a lineman sometimes, and they were like, Trey, you got to stop ordering more food.
Crazy.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, because I remember Burger King because of that, but yeah, I remember going there and being a little bit nervous, but I'm like, I've just always had something in me that I'm like, there can't be anything that someone else has that just makes them flat out better than me. And if you are, you have to show me. I'm like, you might be better than me right now, but you're gonna you gotta. I'm not just gonna let you have it. I'm not just gonna let you do it. Thing. So I thought that was really important, that I got to see different competition and see different talent. And I remember like seeing kids, like how fast other kids were. Yeah. But I also remember like little moments where I would do something good in a drill, and I remember like a coach or two just gave me like a couple tips, and I was like, oh, he actually like saw that like I was like doing my best to be in the right position and everything. And my biggest thing was, I remember some kid had messed up this drill, and he was like, no, you didn't pay attention to how I just said to do it. Next person up, you go do it. And then I was like, I hope I just got it right, because I'm not the best at just like hearing something, being told it, and doing it. Yeah. But as soon as I did it well, and he like clapped me up for that and everything. So I was, it was just little things like that, being around and realizing I can be around dudes that are running solid 40 times, and they look like, there's dudes that look fast. Like you're just around people, I'm like, oh, like, these are boys that can run with AJ. Like this is speed out here.
That was the standard. It was like, can you beat AJ?
And yeah, and that was my thing. I try to tell people, coming from Marion and not being well known in Marion, at least as myself. Shout out to Mansfield, because my dad's side of my family is from Mansfield. Not a lot of people just knew me in Marion. And as I'm going through our class of 2014, I'm like, well, I'm like one of the third or fourth best athletes here at best. Like LJ's obviously number one in football, and AJ is neck and neck with him track wise, because this man is fat. Like sophomore season, that man was flying on the track. Let me tell you. And it was just one of those things where even in practice, no matter, when I finally started running track, I was like, man, no matter how hard I tried, he was just next to me effortlessly, just looking like he's sitting in a chair, just running, hawking people down. And I'm like, bruh, I am trying. So I just didn't understand it. And I hadn't started running when I was really young like he had. But he was just a great runner. But it for me, I was just like, oh, I can't be that good. I'm not even the best, and we're in a small town, and we aren't, in my opinion, we weren't that good. Until then I put in perspective like the schedules we had, and I'm like, we actually had some decent people. And we had some, shout out to Austintown Fitch and a couple like St. Vincent St. Mary's, because man, they came in and
we played against, at least, no exaggeration, 5 NFL players just in our junior senior year alone.
Yeah.
Half of
Because
St.
Coach
V.
Cups did not care. He was putting us against anybody.
Springfield. Yeah,
Because Paris Campbell was on that team, I'm pretty sure. I still remember that was the only time. I had only technically been scored on in high school. A touchdown caught on me one time. Um, but I remember that St. Vincent St. Mary's game. I felt I could always hold my own, even at these camps. But as soon as I was on that field with them, I realized that this kid ran as soon as they snapped the ball. He runs. He does like 2 look backs and keeps going downfield. I think I'm burnt on a play, and I look back and they were running the ball, and I never felt dumber in my life. Like, oh,
That's the look off block. He looked
he
you
wasn't
off
even
and blocked you.
like, bruh, I don't. He just, oh wow. I'm like, he's running routes and he ain't even getting the ball just to take me away. I was lost.
And then that's what I was about
lost.
to say. They were sound. Like they just was a better football team than us.
Yeah, I like that he put us against some of that so we could see how competitive we can be. And
Hindsight 2020, we need to take about
couple of those off.
Couple,
Couple.
like 4 of those.
Couple, because like
off
we're
the
like, oh, we're
schedule.
3-7, man. We're just as bad, man. We're not even that. And then like you start looking up like the GBC
And how
and
far
stuff,
they
and
went
realizing how
in.
far we had to go, and then how far those teams went in the playoffs. I'm like, we weren't playing no backyard bums, man. And that's what's crazy to me to learn about Marion is as I venture out, how many people actually know about Marion randomly. And back when, especially before open enrollment and stuff, when we had bigger schools and we were actually pretty good at sports, like we were going to state title games and stuff and like winning stuff. That I remember someone from like Westerville South or something was talking about how he was bragging about how he beat us and stuff, and I'm like, bro, we're not that good. And he was like, back in the day, you guys were decent. Like,
Oh yeah. Like a lot of people in my dad's generation, like if you
Yeah.
from Marion, like y'all used to be bad, and it's like well, that wasn't the case when I was there.
yeah. We didn't have
But
the
yeah.
same records, and then and yeah. So seeing teams and holding yourself relative all the time, I realized that held me back sometimes. So getting out, I think, really does a good job. That I have a lot of love for Marion, and Coach Cups also had a valid point because he always talked about Marion being your little brother, who you beat up, you talk crap about and whatnot, but anyone else starts barking up and saying you're trash, and then you defend him immediately. So there is something about Marion that I always hold on to and I don't talk down upon because I think there are special things there. It just takes people to outgrow their environment a little bit to then potentially be people that get to come back and instill some confidence in other people because you need those trailblazers in your community. I have this opinion in theory that like you don't get a generational athlete just out of nowhere. I feel like it comes from so many other failed dreams of people trying to push themselves and not getting to play at the highest level, but like just being people that got to learn. Like you start off with a couple guys that just go maybe to play at the D3 level that's still plenty competitive. You have maybe a guy or two go and play D2. It takes those guys to then be around so that when there's that kid that's growing up, you're growing up with people that furthered their knowledge and pushed themselves more and came back. And they are the ones that kind of lead you and show you what to do and how to take things a little bit more serious.
Yeah, mine for me was having CJ Wessler on our high school staff.
Yeah.
He would just like drop little gems on me. Like I remember one day, and it followed me all the way to college. It was simple conditioning. He was like, hey, fire 3 steps off the line, stride the middle, fast turn, 3 steps off that line, stride it out. He's like, that's how you're supposed to condition. Like, you're not supposed to be panicking, trying to sprint this whole thing. Like, this is a very detailed and compartmentalized exercise. This is how you should run it. And like that expertise, I don't know, to me it was just astronomical because like I used to hate gassers, but then he taught me 3 steps out, fast turn, 3 steps out, and then I was like, all right, bet this is nothing now.
Yes.
DeVale Winters, when he was on our staff, he played college sports. Just having him in my ear about just how to posture yourself in meetings with recruiters and stuff. Because, I mean, he was heavily recruited for both baseball and football.
Yeah.
He had a lot to do with that. Coach Cups, having coached, who's that linebacker? Trey Price.
Trey Price, yeah, from Alabama.
So his expertise, having coached the number one linebacker in the nation, just gave me it gave me connections out the ass. We would go to like college visits and stuff, and he'd be like, "Hey, yo, Smitty," and then recruits are looking at me because I just got special access to coaches and places that other people didn't have. But like Coach Cups was tight like that with a lot of people. So yeah, like you need that person who furthered that knowledge or furthered the game just a little bit to help you get further than they did. Like, it's definitely
I see it in brothers a lot too, where it's sometimes
not in the honest, not in the
not in the honest, yeah. But
how's
yeah,
he in the NBA still?
hey, there's connections mean a lot, you know.
Giannis is powerful. That's what that says.
Yeah. But yeah, sometimes you just have that first one that tries things out first and fails for you, and then it really allows you to just to leapfrog and take things to another level. And I think you don't have that next level stuff when you don't have the beginning steps and that foundation from the jump. I remember another thing, and no slight to our linemen. There's plenty of our linemen that good friends with and everything. But I remember we were also such a skilled group. Like we had a lot of good skill players sometimes. And as soon as Marion started getting separated a little bit into a lot of kids going to different county schools, even if they lived in the city, I remembered we went from having like massive man children at line and people just get to moving. But man, I remember when we went to a scrimmage, which who was it? It wasn't an Olentangy, it was Pick Central. I remember we did a 7-on-7 against Pick Central, and we tied them in a 7-on-7 with our skill players and everything. I remember we did really well. And then I remember, but they had like insane dudes on their line. And we looked over to like, it was like Tucker and like, Jake Williams and them. Yeah. And man, their shirts, they came back over. They was tore up. We were like,
they had
what
the
happened
boy went to
there?
Michigan State.
Was he a DN? Was he the DN? Yeah,
Whichever pick is purple, that's where.
That's Pick Central. Yeah,
okay.
because we play them and
Taco.
them run in. Taco, yeah.
I don't know his last name.
Taco Charlton. Taco.
He went to one in Michigan school. He went to Michigan.
Yeah.
Yes, come on, bro.
I ran. Wait a second. You said Michigan State, so I forget. No, you're right. Yeah, I got to meet him when I went on that visit, and when you and AJ couldn't come, and I remember that I had, because that was a big boy.
Ride that
yeah, but hey, that's when you realize it's different.
Period that day too.
Yeah, that's when. It was an inside run period, and then there was like us doing all the throws. Man. That was I remember they had the decent quarterback and receiver.
Best people we played and the D line from. He went and played center in college, but he was a D lineman, and at Fitch was.
The dude from Fitch.
Price.
Billy Price. Yeah, because he plays for the Bengals, right?
I don't know if he still.
He
plays
was.
now,
I was gonna say I know he was on the Bengals. Hey, those are grown men that are trying to take your spot, man. These are adults. But yeah, the people that have come from Marion that I used to look at as like, even how some people frame it as like disappointing and stuff. When you see like all the things that can get in your way that are real life things of like just kids growing up, like these are some of the only things that you know. And it's hard to have a perspective sometimes change when you're still around the same people. Like that's one thing that I've always been big about is who you surround yourself with. If you surround yourself with 10 people that are going to go be doctors, you're probably going to become a doctor. You hang out with 10 people that cook, you're probably going to start cooking. One of my favorite quotes I had heard was someone asked someone, like, who do you think I'll be in 10 years? And they said, show me the 5 people you spend the most time with, and I'll tell you who you're going to be. And I think it really reflects, and that's why really I think it's so big for people to have people that take things serious, that if anybody wants to go above and beyond what they're normally around, you have those options. And sometimes in Marion, people get bogged down with thinking that it's not such a great town, we're not super well off, we don't have it like other people. But back in the day, we were known for being pretty good, and we still have those moments where like you see flashes of greatness where people believe in themselves sometimes. And for me, I just remember that it meant a lot to me, and developing my own competitiveness was getting to be around people like you and especially Sean Facione, because you guys took everything so serious. But I was always someone that decided like there's no way someone can just has to be better than me, and that I'm not willing to go try to compete with somebody. And I still remember, I think it was like freshman year, the first time when we had like started hitting and stuff, and someone was like, who's gonna go do hamburger drills with LJ when he was first up? And I'm like, I'll go up. And I thought shit was sweet.
Hey,
my shoulder after that, boy, I came up. I mean, I technically made the tackle maybe, but man, all I know is my shoulder after that, I was like, hey, coach, I need a sec. It's something ain't sitting right. And they're like, you'll be fine. It's just a stinger.
That and tackling drills was Coach Nick's favorite.
Oh, like, no, y'all
you had
used
to be
to
tough playing with him.
Yes.
There was no shying from contact. Like, he was going to set the drill up where you and another adolescents going to sprint straight at each other and smack each other.
We're trying to get some early CTE, baby.
Early, boy.
Man, but I really appreciated the fact that you guys really showed me that you can be around people that are taking stuff really seriously. And the respect that you guys treated people with, though, it meant a lot to me, because some people like just look over other people when they get a chance to be the next guy up. People very often, everyone hates the senior that just goes in and is super selfish, but then as soon as they become the senior, then sometimes we just all dip into that same thing. And sometimes that's needed. It's not always bad, but that's just like a lot of people, once they get up, they just like, oh, I'm up now. And I just really appreciated that, because I feel like you guys were really humble in your approach to things, especially you, because I remember the gassing up that people would do sometimes in little situations. Shout out to Jade, because there's just
I had to show someone that picture, and they was like, "That was really posted on you around school," and I was like,
yes.
And
Someone,
I had to act like it didn't faze me.
Yeah. So for insider knowledge, one of our friends in high school decided to get a picture of Jesus and put his face on it, and put 2 footballs above the hands on the side.
I rebuke the blasphemy of that image.
So
that was not my doing.
They like I said, sometimes people let a lot of that get to their head. But I just love that you guys didn't turn into being too big and too cool for everything. And it just gave me people to be around to see the effort that you guys really put in. Like Sean even came to live with me in Cincinnati eventually when he was doing an internship there. And I was still in college at the time. So I'm doing my thing. I was never huge in school about schoolwork initially. But like I see him coming back from his job, and he's doing his job still. He's coming back and he's drawing up like workout programs and everything. He's applying for stuff. He's just always working. And it just really set the tone that I had to see, like, although I felt like I could compete, I realized like there's just a different amount of work that you guys were putting in compared to me.
Yeah.
And that if I wanted to take stuff serious, it's not about having the title of something first. It's just about putting that time in.
Yeah.
So when it came to me finally diving into basketball and diving into a lot of things, it helped giving me examples of like what hard work looked like. And it's you don't always come across that. You come across really talented individuals sometimes, but not everyone's willing to really put hours and hours and really worry about the small things.
Yeah. And like for me, like you complimented me about like my humility of the whole thing. I didn't have a choice. Like shit, you know my dad. It was we have no big heads around here. Like
Yeah.
we grind. You're gonna be the best you could be, and that's not your best to throw in someone else's face that it's better than theirs. Like it's just simply that's what God put in you. That's as far as your hard work got you, wherever that may be. And like now he instilled confidence in myself. Like he always told me, go out there and know like I'm the baddest. Everyone's out here trying to stop me. Like he gave me those gems. Don't worry. I was shit talking in my own head, but like I never externalized it. I never made it like something that I wanted to be a part of my image. And as far as like, I mean, you knew me. Like I just wasn't a big talker. Like I was lead by example. So like, I wanted to be everything that I confidently told people to be. Like, so I'm not gonna tell you to work hard if you can't visibly see that I'm the hardest worker in the fucking room. I'm not gonna tell you anything that you can't visibly see that I'm already pursuing. And I may fall short in some areas, but like I'm trying to be those things that I'm telling other people to be. So I appreciate you acknowledging that out of me, because that was something I was very mindful of. Is just make sure they see that I'm the things that I talk about. Like I'm a hard work, dedication. You know, I used to break that shit down on the huddle. Hard work, dedication.
Every
it
time.
better be visible that I'm working hard at what I'm dedicated to. You know what I mean? So appreciate that.
And it's funny. I want to also say when it comes to having someone around to deflate your bubble a little bit, anybody that thinks that I'm a hater now,
y'all haven't lived my life. Let me tell you, he'll text me on my birthday just to purposely not tell me happy birthday. Like that's the type of shit I deal with.
Man, you gotta, because I mean, when you get to a point when everyone's giving you confidence, I'm like, listen, someone's got to make sure your head's on level. Hey. So you gotta have a hater, and I'm a good hater. I'm a solid hater, man. I tell kids I'm a D1 All-American nominee. If you need some hate, just hit me up. I got you, y'all. Some of y'all need it, some of y'all don't, and we'll see. But leading by example, I think that's a big thing that reflects me back to coaching now, though, is that's why I think some people trusted me early on, because they could see my hard work. And that's why I think some coaches in general lose perspective on what wins kids over.
You have to serve them. If they don't feel served,
if
they don't feel like you're an accessible
resource, and it's not just an entitlement thing.
Anytime,
yes,
they won't trust you.
And I realized kids respected me because they saw me doing stuff. They saw me at the Y every day. They saw me staying after practice at the school. So I think some coaches work really hard, but they work in the shadows so much that like kids, you could tell them, oh, I went to Louisville and played. Oh, I did all this and that. But when they haven't seen it, they just don't know how to relate to it. They can't connect to it. So they're like, that just sounds like a whole bunch of cool stuff. But like, what are you doing now though? What are you doing now though? And, that's what always interested me in my ability to develop relationships with people, because it really comes down to how you make people feel about themselves. And when you lead by example, you don't leave it up to just hoping that they hear you out. Like,
Oh, yeah.
they'll be with you. They'll, when people do stuff with you, they trust that a lot more. And so I've just tried to do a good job at, whenever I am coaching and stuff, that I put in the time, but I also make sure that I'm available just about at any hour for kids, because you never know when someone's gonna get the desire to like want to really better themselves. So, I mean, I got in trouble at Harding a couple times. Sorry, Kearns, for coming in and trying to get kids that are previous alumni in the gym, even back at Harding. And we'd be coming in at like 11 o'clock because I had to work throughout the day. I had practice after that. But like, I'm just not someone that's going to tell people no to wanting to get better, because if I felt I didn't have all of that availability to somebody and access, like that's just been something that I've taken personal to try to be there at any time I can.
Especially like a dream that's so time sensitive. Like as an athlete, you have a window in which you can maximize what you can do with that sport. So if I've got a kid who just happens to have availability at 11 o'clock and he's willing to chase that dream, fuck it. We're going to be in the gym taking up shots. Like, you know what I mean? And I mean, especially now in an age where you don't see that drive in a lot of athletes, you appreciate that. And as a coach, where you want to, like coaches, we want to coach high-level athletes. We want to coach the kid. He may not be the best, but we want to coach the kid who has the most desire and is willing to put in the work. We'll deal with you every day, 7 days a week, twice on Sunday. So when you have that kid hitting you up at 11, it's like, I could bend the rules a little bit for this kid chasing his dream. They used to do it for me. Like, I'm not going to mention any names, but I had coaches in my phone who I could hit up and say, hey, could you open up the weight room? And you know the rule, it had to be supervised. They were like, hey, I didn't let you in here, and bounce. I just be in the weight room by myself. You know what I mean? So you need those coaches. Keep being that coach.
And that's, I think beyond, when it comes to showing up for people like that, I realize that not everybody is willing to do a lot of those things. So when you give kids just time to be heard and develop that relationship with people, I think it blows you away when you really get into it, into coaching, and realizing that when you just let a kid be heard and be seen, sometimes that's really all they want. People need that. It's a normal human thing to want those things. And some kids, even with some of the dumb stuff that they'll do, you'll realize how much more you can get out of that kid when you give them moments to just hear them out, even if they're wrong. But no one wants to be criticized while they're messing up in such a demeaning way.
Like coaches, we love to say there's no such thing as a dumb question. I promise you, I've heard a whole plethora of dumb ass questions.
I heard some interesting questions.
To your point, you gotta give them that space to ask the dumb question that you're saying is not dumb, so that they can grow and feel heard and seen.
And it kills me because I feel like I run into a lot of coaches, and understandably so, time-wise, not everyone has the same availability. But a lot of coaches sometimes get into stuff and they'll say, well, I'm just a coach. I'm not here to be your therapist. I'm not here to be this, that, and the third. And I think when you're getting into a place that doesn't have a lot of resources and they don't have the same privileges other people have, they need those things. We take those things for granted sometimes. And if you give a kid a chance to open up and be heard, they express themselves a lot differently and they react to your coaching a lot differently. So it interests me because I have a buddy who cuts hair. Shout out to Travis. I heard one time that for a lot of men, the first therapist that you borderline have is your barber. It's one of the first people that you sit there, you talk to, and you talk about anything to your barber, really. And little do they know, they have a massive effect on your life and how you just see the world, just from being that someone that you sit there and have a half hour to an hour long conversation with every time. So I really try to make sure that even if there's coaches that don't have that availability, just trying to find little things like that I can do to hear kids out, so they can fail and ask as many questions and be curious without coming across as disrespectful, because you know how many questions I used to ask and how coaches would respond to that sometimes, understandably so.
They used to swear you wasn't even paying attention. They were like, "Did you hear anything I said?"
Yeah, and it was tough because I feel like sometimes I got labeled as just like an overthinker, but like then when I got to college and I had time to think at excess, it turned out that like I learned how to ask better questions. I learned how to learn a lot better in general. So once I finally had some space to develop and express myself on my own, it really gave me that chance. So I just really urge coaches that, I know it might not sound, I know sometimes people are iffy about mental health and stuff like that and having these conversations because it's a really big gray area. When you give this time to kids, it allows them to be curious and ask questions without it coming across in the wrong way. And I feel like you can connect with them a lot more, whether it even translates to wins and losses. We're here for life after sports too. Like I'm not here just for this little spot. This is a medium in which I can meet you where you're not sitting at a desk all day long. You finally get to get out and you get to exercise because no one wants to be cooped up like that. So in that time period that I have you, this should be time that you're excited to get stuff done, not feeling like this is another terrible thing to have to go do and just barely get through. And you never know what situations kids are dealing with, because just like you, like even someone that was as good as you were, it's at learning to ask for help. I realize it's one of the strongest things you can do, and it's not just about you doing it on your own. Like you mentioned with when you got to Louisville, and you just put your head down, but you were willing to learn. But you were just trying to do it all on your own initially. But like, it's a big step to know how to ask for help and when to get assistance when it's needed, and not just do stuff on your own.
Like I was just fortunate enough to have some older players on the team who acknowledged my maturity, that in my eyes was my reservedness, because like I wasn't the only freshman that came in at the time. The other two freshmen, everyone was like, dang, they're annoying, they're loud, they think they know it all, like they're in the weight room, they're late, they're got us running because they're skipping class. Like, so I just happen to have some older guys who recognize my maturity to extend that helping hand, because like you said, it does take a lot to ask for help, and I probably wouldn't have asked for it. I probably would have still been quiet and just figured things out, and it would have took me, I would have figured out all those things that they taught me, but I would have figured them out in more time with more trials and errors, and like, so I'm glad that they extended that reaching hand.
And like you said, the window is small. Like you don't have, like, it's not forever. Like
you got to learn those fifth-year gyms in year one so that you could fucking get out there year 3. Like that's the whole formula for real.
Exactly.
But yeah, like asking for help, that's something I still struggle with. Like I'm just not big on asking for help, knowing that I need help and I can't do all these things by myself. So still a skill I'm developing.
And that's something that I have recently gotten more into, because of the environments I've been in and the people that I'm around now and surrounding myself with, especially people like Cody Ballard. He's really shown me that it's okay, and I need to learn how to ask for help more in some situations, because I was such a individualized, independent person sometimes, that I just realized like it means something to know how to lean on people and when to ask for help. So I think those things matter a lot, and people are willing to ask for help though when they feel comfortable around people. So like I just really think relationships that you have with kids and the way you connect with them sometimes matters more than your overall sports knowledge.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, connections even reach past your direct on the field situations. Because, like you said, you go with Coach Cups to some type of camp somewhere and they're just shouting out and they know a bunch of people. And it's interesting because there's a difference with knowing people because you're trying to be popular and you're trying to be famous in a way, but then there's some people that just genuinely know a lot of people, and that's something I've grown to really appreciate. And to me, it's the quality that stands out the most to me is when I run into people that know so many people but still carry themselves in a modest way. But I remember when I was at Delaware Hayes, there was this other coach, Rob Price. Everywhere we went, he knew somebody. Everywhere we went. And now, even as I go further, I just run into people that just still know him. And then,
You know Rob Price?
yeah, and they're like, you know him? Like, and it's just, and I love that about the community of sports and what we do, because it's not about knowing everyone and everyone has to know you and you're posting about it all the time. You get to know people because you treat people well, and it shows with how people treat you back.
That's a testament to like someone's character, 100%.
Yes.
Like I'm like you. I don't like to forget people. I'm better with faces than names.
Yeah.
But I'll see someone who I haven't seen since like middle school or something. I'm like, hey, so and so, and they're like, what, you remember? And I'm like, yeah, man, like that.
Yeah.
I'm very like prideful about remembering people and acknowledging them. Like there on multiple occasions, to your point, like just in the sports realm, how like when you compete with people over a long time or you've created this status, even in like little social local circles, like names travel far. On 2 instances, I've been talking about people or just talked to a random person I just met within the day, within the hour or something, and I tell them where I'm from, and I tell them not who I am yet, and they're like, oh yeah, that's where a football player, this guy's. Actually, no. Actually, I'm thinking 3 different occasions. I was trying to buy a truck once, and the car salesman was like, oh, Marion, Ohio, that's where a high school football player. And I was like, yeah, that's me. Nice to meet you. This guy.
That's me.
He went crazy. He had me sign a picture and everything.
Really?
I was at Highland. One of their track coaches was talking, and he's like, yeah, man, they had a pretty good football player, LJ. And I was like,
Nice to meet you.
But yeah, it's just crazy. Like, and like to other people's point, not just to me. I remember when we would compete in high school and track season was owned by AJ Jones. You show up to a track and they're like, oh man, there's that Marion team. Hey, where's that light skinned kid at? And it's like, yeah, y'all know.
Yeah, y'all,
because he's about to smoke.
Y'all about to find out, man. Y'all about to find out. Keep talking.
Like that. I don't know, that aspect of sports. I think is cool too.
Yeah. Because it's things like that live on for years.
I used to tell people all the time, my goal wasn't to be famous. I just wanted to be familiar. Like, I wanted to feel like I was everyone's cousin. I wanted to be cool with everyone.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have no beefs. I wanted to walk into any room I could or possible and dap up as much people as like I just wanted to be that guy. I didn't want to be like this figure larger than life who people know but they can't approach or stuff like that.
Yeah. And I think that's important because it's there's so many people that take the situations that we're in as simple high school sports coaches, and they treat it as if they're a superstar sometimes, and you can just see in the way they carry themselves, and it just cracks me up because at the end of the day,
the coach themselves, you're saying?
Yeah, coaches themselves. They have this
higher than thou feel about
I've
seen a lot of coaches like that complex.
And it cracks me up because I'm like, man, like this is
college football. It was crazy. When I was at Akron, you couldn't tell these guys that they wasn't their own god in their own world. Like, you know what I mean? It was just that complex of, all right, guy.
All right. We get it. You're the next best thing. Like it's really not about that. And that's why I find interesting is figuring out how to communicate with people in general, because sometimes people that actually are that good but are humble, they do enjoy when people don't just sit there and are super cocky and arrogant the whole time. And they can talk to someone and get to be a human versus someone coming up and asking for like autographs and stuff and then putting you on a pedestal. And that's why I feel no matter what I do, I always have a feeling that, like you have already right now, getting back to Harding, I always feel that I'll have that drawback and I'll be willing to come back to Harding specifically at some point to really get to be there for a good set of years.
Yeah.
Because I've had a couple awesome coaches on our coaching staff right now, and they're saying, "Man, while you're young, like you should try to go coach college. You should try to just go do more, make more money, go do more stuff." But after I got out of college, I kind of became a little bit what I would call anti-ambitious. And I no longer have this goal to reach the top of everything. I really just want to be there and show up every day. I've always told people I'm too dumb to quit. I just want to keep showing up and I'm not going to stop. So when I have people that try to push me all the time, and I'm like, I realized even with my degree, it didn't matter if I went and became a brain surgeon. As soon as I come back to talk to people that I want to be around, if it all goes in one ear and out the other, and they just don't care because even if I have this credibility, they care what I do in front of them. So I'd much rather put myself in a position where I can be around kids at a highly influential point in your life, which is like a high school coach. You get to be around people. You see them from Pee Wee or midget football that we had, and you get to see them at camps all the way through middle school and then getting into high school. And I really like that because from what I understand brain-wise, that is when you absorb the most knowledge and you really have your foundation set. College coaches, yes, get to do a lot with players, but you only have players for a good couple of years.
Yeah.
When you're in high school, you really get to see and be around and get to know people's parents and get a real grassroots feel for stuff. So I'm not saying that I would never be willing to take a step to the next level. It's just that if that comes, it's going to come because I just keep showing up and the right opportunity comes up.
I feel you.
But I really just want to focus on what is in front of me no matter what. And I don't need it to be this ladder that I'm trying to climb super quick. I just want it to be something that I know I'm doing and I'm putting time into, regardless if regardless if there's other people that are trying to go be at the top of their field. I feel like things like that, opportunities will come just from me being in the right place at the right time. And if there was another question I could ask, when you have gotten into coaching now, is there anything that you do to try to meet kids in the middle yourself and be not just approachable, but like kind of step into their shoes and kind of speak to them and understand what they're doing?
Yeah, but I have a particular stance on that. I don't think it's negative, but like most people come to a coach, a mentor, or so an expertise in a specific area for their guidance and knowledge. So to answer your question, like I'll never not try to meet a kid halfway. The goal is to find your level of understanding and then bring you up. And whatever your progression is at that point, it is what it is. Like some people progress faster, some people progress slower, but I need to find where you're at, your level of understanding things, and then give you what I know. But as far as, and I don't know if I just interpreted the question wrong, as far as like meet them halfway, my regimen is never, and I get it. You might have a training regimen to get them, let's say the goal of an athlete is to get them stronger. We can both get them stronger two different ways.
Yes.
I'm always going to stand on mine. That doesn't mean yours is wrong. but
Yeah.
you're always going to stand on your way.
Yeah.
So when I'm training an athlete, you're with me to do my way. We're not going to negotiate.
Yeah.
I get on IG, you saw them do the little cute cut up on all the cone shit, but with me, we're going to do what I know. So like in that regard, I'm not meeting the athlete halfway. It's like, here's where I want to train athletes. Here's where like you're asking me to train you. And by the way, I don't train athletes, and this is a big reason why I don't train athletes, because I don't. So to back it up a little bit, you just said like you want to exist in your field and just want to exist. Where I have this like pursuit of excellence. I'm opposite in the sense, if I'm existing in my field, I want my name to be mentioned amongst like the top of the field. And like, again, I don't think that's a bad like personal flaw. That's just what's always driven me is to be. And I think it's kind of been skewed because majority of my life when I'm being recruited and I'm comparing myself against other like athletes.
Yes.
In order to survive in that dream, I have to be amongst
Exactly. Yes.
So
the selecting process
yes.
makes you
Yes.
in that competitive sense, like I gotta be better. Because if I'm not better, I don't get to further my dreams.
So that's how I'm conditioned to think in just most of any aspects of my life. So now to make that point, if I'm training an athlete, the reason I don't train them today is because I can't guarantee that most athletes want to be in that upper percentile, that field like I want to be.
Yes.
So I have a huge conflict on how far can I push this athlete, because I know how far I would push me. I would tell myself, you're not sore, suck it up. We're going to finish these reps and sets. Whereas like in today's world or not today's world, any world where an athlete doesn't want what I want, now I've got to recondition how I would normally train through this pain, and now like, okay, let me modify it for you. Today we'll take this off. Which I get, a good trainer is going to modify and listen to the athlete. Again, I'm not a trainer, but I just have this like pursuit of excellence that I think in some areas it makes me skewed, or it makes it difficult truly for me to slow down and back up and meet, in your case, like an athlete halfway. Like sometimes, I kid you not, it truly frustrates me when I'm coaching an athlete and he can't perform what I'm asking, and I truly have to go back to the basics and remind myself, not everyone has that amount of skill. Like, they've got to go back to square one, so slow down for them. So like, I'm not a perfect coach. I've got to do that a lot.
Even I just remember how you were telling me with one of your players that it was someone I know was a little bit newer to the football field, not new to the football field, but in general of playing varsity, and how much you even got kids to, or a couple of them, to at least buy in and watch a lot of film.
Oh yeah.
And that, I think, is stuff that when you get people, and how I know you've gotten some people to take more of an initiative outside of stuff, that tells me that you must have done something to, and maybe the kid also showed that they wanted to take things serious, so that you really saw that that's someone you wanted to put time into. But getting kids to do stuff that they don't even have to, like a lot of kids just weight train and do simple stuff, but getting people to buy in even on watching film on their own, it's not something everybody does. No. People don't understand that's not something that just everybody does. And I had an issue with that because, similar to you, when I got into coaching at first, I'm like, my job is to push everybody to that next level. But then I just realized I ran into some people and I'm like, oh, you don't want to go do that. You don't want to perfect everything.
It blew my mind. I'm like, what?
And I'm like, but this is so fun. Why would I not? And someone didn't even play at a super high level. I know that like when I get into something, I want to know everything about it, which is why to some coaches I came off the wrong way. But really, I'm just curious. I just want to learn everything about something. So when I ran into people, especially that are actually talented too, I'm like, oh, if you just did this and this, like, people can stop you. But then I realized, like, even though they're good, some people live so comfortably. And this is why I try to explain to some kids nowadays. It really depends, I think, on a lot of how you were raised, and for more or less the security or safety in which you're even raised. Because there's some kids at certain schools that come from really good backgrounds, and you wonder why don't they want to go push the envelope and try to see how far they could go. But then I realized, like, when you live life comfortably and everyone around you just stays, if you have a job, a significant other, and family around already, you don't have this need to, like, prove anything. You just kind of play to play. Whereas there's some kids that I know, even from Harding, and even and that we've ran into, they're really confident, but they don't put in a ton of work. But then I realized that confidence came from them not wanting to be at home simply. Like they live a life that, like, I just don't want to be here. I really want to make it out. So even if it means they have to be a little bit delusional, some kids are willing to do that. Just because they don't like where they're at. So it's really like trying to find that balance. Because I think sometimes, in my understanding though, that when I did run into some kids that didn't want it all yet, I think that if you do meet some kids in the middle, they sometimes develop that confidence and they develop that ambition that they then, like, a flip sometimes gets switched where they do decide, wow, like I want to take this to the next level. But it takes a little bit of time.
It does take some time. And
not everyone gets that.
I'm slow in my relationships. Like, I don't, even as a coach, like, you don't really get me to come out my shell until I really feel like I've earned the trust of the kids and they see me. Like, I don't know, like, just they see how I coach and they also get comfortable with me as well. Like, but I forget where I was about to go with this. What you just said?
Some kids are a little bit late bloomers with their confidence and how serious they want to take stuff.
And this is where I feel like I'm not I'm not closed-minded to the idea of developing these athletes to that point. Like, I really do believe you could pull an athlete on to the next level, but especially in a trainer's perspective. Maybe not like a team coach, because obviously, like, in a team setting, your head coach is your major philosophy. So I really don't drive the most philosophy on our football team. I'm thinking of it in a trainer perspective because you train. That's where I feel like, as a trainer, if I ever trained, I would have to be very specific on which athletes I'm training. And again, I'm not closed-minded to helping a kid flip that switch. But where I've already been, I would just like to coach the kid that his switch is already on. So I can start at this level. You know what I mean? So I don't have to go back to certain squares, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's what's been interesting for me and some of the kids I've run into is that I have not really marketed, like I was mentioning before, I don't really market myself to try to get people. I want people that do want to be there, though,
100%.
that I can get a lot of time in with you. So even if I'm not training a kid that's going to go play college or next level, even potentially, as long as I know you're trying to improve your game as best as you can and you're willing to show up, I will be 100%. There with you. 100%. I will, no matter if you're trying to make a JV team, a varsity team, getting more minutes, changing your role. I want kids that will show up, not just coming in once a week or something, because I just don't feel I can really impart enough knowledge with you.
That to me, I'm just going to pull the family aside and be like, hey, in the nicest way, we're wasting our time. Like, once a week isn't the type of coach I am. And I guess that's what I was trying to say. You better if you're wanting this. Because I trained with a guy in North Carolina, and, like, he would ask people to leave the gym or come to, and it was kind of insulting because he's talking to college athlete or college-age athletes. It was during COVID. Everyone needed a gym to get to, so they ended up at his gym because he was posting the right kind of videos. He was doing the right type of training everybody wanted. But, like, kids would get there and they'd be on their phone the whole time and stuff, and, like, he would just ask them, like, hey, I think you should join either our younger session basically with the kids, or you don't need to train here, basically saying, like, hey, I'm here to coach people who are trying to get better, and you're a distraction to that environment that I'm trying to create, so you can't show up. Like, I would definitely be the trainer that's kicking people out. I don't care how much you pay me. The money's not why I'm doing this.
You don't you don't want to be here. I'm not, because we're not going to get anything that translates either, though. Nothing. If you don't really want to be here, I'm going to look like a poor trainer because you're not going to improve at all. And it's like, oh, like if he just had the desire to get better, I feel like he could easily change and
And I
edit
think we're
his
in a
game
culture
a bit.
where, and this is helping me drive that point home, is where trainers themselves aren't caring about their product, and their product meaning, how did I get this athlete? How am I sending them out?
Yes.
They just
yes.
care that this athlete is signing up for weekly sessions and paying me money, and I'm not going to say nothing to you that you ain't even increased your vertical bench, nothing, because you keep paying me $300 a week. That's the culture that we live in, and that's across any industry. If people are going to keep paying you for the minimum, people are going to deliver the minimum.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, put me around a trainer, or I would be the trainer that's very invested in my results. Hey, you ain't improved in how long? Maybe you need to change something up, or maybe you need to find a trainer that can channel out of you what you need. You know what I mean?
Because I might not always be the same guy. Let me I just got to keep checking this in case it tells me that the battery's run low or anything. Because we will start rounding up here soon. I think it's about 9 now. When it comes to the what was I gonna say? People do it off of notoriety instead of actually creating and influencing a lot of change out of people. And that's just not something that doesn't come with time, but that time has to be well spent. So if you're coming in and not spending that time well, it doesn't matter. It wouldn't matter who's here. But it just might not be me that can get that out of you. You just didn't come here with the right approach.
Yes.
I'm not going to keep taking your money when you aren't actually bought into this. And I think that's a tough conversation for people, because I think it even goes to development. Because where I feel for some kids is the opposite sense, where you eventually, if you do want to get better though, you might outgrow some situations. I have my stick tattoo that people always ask me about. And I tell them it's a walking stick, and they think it's just a joke. And my meaning behind it is, if you were to go blind today, the most useful thing you would come across is having a walking stick. If you suddenly had your blindness cured and you can now see again, you're no longer going to need that. It would be to your detriment to continually use it, because you're going to keep relying on that. You've already gotten it fixed. It might not have value to you now. That doesn't mean it doesn't have any value, but for you, you might have outgrown that thing. And you just might be going in a different direction. So there's some situations that if someone is leaving themselves behind, you just might need to go somewhere where they're not holding you to a super high standard, but they let you just show up and get simple work in. But then sometimes you outgrow your environment. And I think that has been such a blessing for me with Marion, with how much I do love and appreciate Marion. In some situations, I really never wanted to leave. And if I would have had the things go my way that I wanted, I might have not left. But I realized I kind of needed to be pushed away to a degree to really be willing to go out and venture out again, and get to test myself and learn a lot, to come back and then later be able to impart some of this knowledge and just be there for some of these people. Because there are some, although you can surround yourself with the right, with a decent amount of right people in Marion, it's highly beneficial for you to get out and leave and see if you've outgrown some situations. Because it sounds like some dumb philosophy stuff to say, but you don't know what you don't know. Until you can contrast stuff and really get out and find out different stuff, and you don't have anything to compare it to. So you're just relative at a Marion standard sometimes. And I think it's really big for people to get outside of that eventually. And I even use it for myself, because I tell this kid I work with, let's say you went to the NBA one day. Would you potentially switch up and get another trainer at some point? Yeah. Does that mean I'm garbage now? No, I was useful for you before, but you might outgrow me. There might be other people that can frame stuff differently for you
Yeah.
that you need to be around for you to continue to progress. And if I'm not willing to learn and apply myself to grow with you, then it's okay to have some situations that you leave behind in the pursuit of growing and trying to do different things. You have to do different things to be frustrated and be uncomfortable. You can't just sit there doing those same things at that level and expect these next tier results.
Yeah.
So it's tricky. It definitely is tricky figuring out what's best and what environment best suits kids. And some places they're not ready for, and some places they're ready to step out of. And I think these are things that you can't understand until you understand the kid themselves a lot better. So we'll start to wrap it up here now. We can definitely have more conversations in the future, and I'm excited to really highlight some of people that I just want to really give their flowers and let them kind of
Appreciate
speak their own perspective on stuff
Yeah.
because there really are people that have left and gotten to do stuff. Some of us have gotten to come back already. Some of us haven't. And I just think it's really important to share these stories so that people can know that there is stuff in Marion that you can get to that will help you. And there are stories of success that you don't have to just think that everything that comes out of Marion is sometimes just always negative. I think it's value to be positive in some regards, and to appreciate the things that you do have around you. So thank you very much for making time to come down here.
Always, bro.
And we'll definitely talk soon.
Always.